Hello everyone, today we have some very interesting stories in the AI industry to talk about, starting with the premiere of a movie with a fully AI generated script being cancelled due to many complaints and public outrage. We're also going to take a look at the current trends in the labor market as AI ramps up and layoffs increase. And finally, we'll take a look at some new statistics from CharacterAI that are truly shocking. So first off, before we get into the main parts of the video, I wanted to briefly talk about Claude 3.5 Sonnet and some of the things people have been doing with it. I made a video about this already when it was released, but now that people have had time to use it and play around with it, we've seen some wild new use cases. So the main thing everyone's talking about when it comes to Claude 3.5 Sonnet is the new artifacts feature. This is the little window in the right-hand side of the screen that shows exactly what the model is doing. Here's an example of someone on Twitter who created the snake game using the new artifacts feature in less than 30 seconds with a single text prompt. The coding abilities of this model seem to be way ahead of any other models out there, even GPT-4o. We're at a point now where someone with zero coding abilities can create a game from scratch in minutes and make changes to it using only their natural language. Of course, if you're going to create more complex games like this first-person shooter here, it'll take a little bit longer, but the point is that these models are getting a lot better at coding, and it's becoming increasingly unnecessary to actually know a programming language, since you can simply tell the model what you want to create in your natural language.
You probably recall, over the course of the last 10 years, 15 years, almost everybody who sits on a stage like this would tell you it is vital that your children learn computer science. Everybody should learn how to program. And in fact, it's almost exactly the opposite. It is our job to create computing technology such that nobody has to program, and that the programming language, it's human.
So some of the other use cases I saw for Claude 3.5 Sonnet's new artifacts feature was people using it to learn. Here, someone used Claude's advanced coding abilities to generate a 3D model of our solar system with physics and gravity. And here we have another person who used it to help them visualize deep learning. So I could see how this could be super helpful for students, especially for those who are visual learners. When I think about the future of education, I think AI and LLMs specifically will play a huge role in revolutionizing the education system for the better. Imagine having access to a personal AI teacher 24/7 who can teach you any subject in any language in any way you want. Of course, we're not there yet, but once these models become more reliable, I don't see why it wouldn't be possible. Moving on, we need to talk about some of the pushback AI has been getting recently. The EU has actually decided to ban Apple from deploying its new Apple Intelligence to users in the EU. It says here in an article from Bloomberg, the company announced Friday that it would block the release of Apple Intelligence, iPhone mirroring, and SharePlay screen sharing from users in the EU this year because the Digital Markets Act allegedly forces it to downgrade the security of its products and services. So this is pretty important because the EU is usually early with implementing regulations, especially with new technologies, but other governments are certainly looking at this, and the more regulations we see implemented, the more discussions we're going to be having about AI and AI safety. So I think it's a really important topic for large governments to be thinking about right now because AI just moves so fast, and once you fall behind, you might never be able to catch up. Now, regulation is not the only challenge AI faces. The premiere of a film titled The Last Screenwriter, which has an entirely AI-generated script, was cancelled last week due to public outrage. The theater received over 200 complaints in total, with another 160 coming overnight, leading them to cancel the screening. So this was a film that had a script generated by GPT-4, but the actual footage was completely normal. None of it was AI generated. The fact that this caused so much outrage was honestly surprising to me. I didn't think people would have that much of a problem with an AI generated script, but I guess this is an indication of what's to come. Just recently, we had another big lawsuit. This time music labels are suing AI song generators like Udio and Suno. If you haven't heard of Udio or Suno, they're music generators that can generate a song in any style you want based on a simple text prompt. They can generate entire songs in seconds that honestly sound really good.
I feel it coming, move your body, feel the beat. My heart's a thumping louder.
So this lawsuit basically claims that these music generators like Suno and Udio are using stolen music to quote spit out similar work. Now, it's not clear whether this is true or how exactly they're training these models, but the point is, as AI continues to disrupt new industries, the people in those industries are not going to take too kindly to that. It's easy to say, well, they just have to get with the times and they need to start getting used to the new technology, but for someone who's dedicated their life to a career in, let's say, screenwriting or songwriting, and now, out of nowhere, they see a tool that can essentially do their entire job in a fraction of the time, you can't really blame them for not being happy about it. This is something that we're going to start seeing a lot more of as AI continues to disrupt other industries. As you can see here from this illustration referenced by an article in the Wall Street Journal, it shows the impact that AI has had since ChatGPT was released in November 2022 by task type. Some of the more affected industries are writing, translation, sales and marketing, and customer service. This should come as no surprise to those who have been following the impact of AI on the labor market, but for those of you who haven't, it's important to note that these numbers are continually dwindling. These gray bars you see on the screen are only getting larger and extending to new industries as the capabilities of AI advances. So we've seen pushback from writers already, as we saw with the premiere of that movie being cancelled, which makes sense given how much AI has impacted that industry. But what's it going to look like when AI has significantly impacted most of these industries, if not all of them? And if you don't think that's going to happen, well, I'd urge you to think again, because these massive companies like OpenAI, Microsoft, Google, Meta, to name a few, are not going to stop until they reach AGI. Now, whether we get there soon or within the next few decades, it doesn't really matter. The point is that that's where we're headed and there's no stopping it. So OpenAI has recently acquired Multi, a startup focused on remote collaboration and screen sharing technology. Now, I'm not going to go over OpenAI's statement because it's extremely vague, but when I see this, the first thing I think about is AI agents. I don't want to speculate too much, but we know OpenAI is working on agents, and I'm guessing they'll use this tech to experiment with agents controlling our computers remotely. Now, if they can figure this out, pretty much any job that's done completely or even partially on a computer will likely be at risk of automation. Obviously, the more complex tasks will take longer, but again, these things move quickly, and I don't think people truly understand what's coming. Another recent article I came across was this one of Apple stating their plans to reduce their amount of iPhone assembly workers by 50%. The report explains that Apple had previously mothballed their automation projects due to high upfront costs, but now they plan to reduce 50% of their iPhone assembly line workers by 2030. Companies are always looking to cut costs and to be as efficient as possible, so when they get the opportunity to do so, they will. The key takeaway from this article is that it's becoming increasingly cheaper for companies to automate certain tasks because of AI. So as this trend continues and the capabilities of AI advance, it's safe to say we will see a lot more automation, and as a result of that, a lot more layoffs. You can argue whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, but the point is, it's happening. So switching gears, there was another trend that I think more people should be paying attention to, and that's the amount of people, especially young people, who are using CharacterAI. If you don't know what CharacterAI is, it's essentially a platform where you can talk to various AI chatbots just like you would any LLM. The difference is, though, is that these chatbots are designed to be easy to converse with and super engaging. I came across this tweet recently which brings up some astonishing statistics that I honestly didn't believe the first time I saw them. It says here that users go crazy in the subreddit when servers go down, and they're getting 250 million plus visits per month and 20 million monthly active users, mainly in the US. Most impressively, they see approximately 2 billion queries a day, 20% of Google search. It turns out these are in fact completely legit. As you can see here from CharacterAI's website, they serve more than 20,000 queries per second. To put that in perspective, Google search processes around 105,000 queries per second. So there's an enormous amount of people using CharacterAI on a daily basis, and most of these people are young kids and teenagers. Now, there's not much research on why these people are using the platform, like what they're getting out of it, but as you can see from this screenshot of a post from CharacterAI's Reddit sub, it seems like for some, it's becoming an addiction. This is not the only post like this from their subreddit. In fact, it's filled with posts just like this and people asking for help to manage their addiction. And as we saw in the tweet, when their servers go down, all hell breaks loose on the subreddit. So this is something I feel like no one really is talking about, and maybe it's just because it's so new. CharacterAI was launched in 2021, only 3 years ago, but in my personal opinion, this is truly alarming because to me, conversing with current AI systems doesn't really feel natural, and I thought we just weren't at that point yet, but based on these statistics, I guess we are. This also reminded me of the movie Her. I don't know if you guys seen it, but it's basically a movie about a guy who falls in love with an AI system just from talking with it. So I guess a future like like this, where people have intimate relationships with AI systems, is not so far away, and maybe it'll even become common, especially for the younger generations who are going to be growing up with this. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think of this. Do you think this trend is going to continue? And if so, what is the world going to look like if people start to prefer interacting with AI systems rather than human beings? Finally, to end off the video, I wanted to share with you guys a couple interesting articles I came across this week about AI advancing the healthcare industry. So the first one is a paper published in Nature. I'll link it in the description if you want to read it more in depth, but the TLDR is they were able to use a machine learning model to accurately predict early signs of Parkinson's in 79% of patients up to 7 years before motor onset, which is essentially when the disease starts to affect your body. So this is truly incredible because when it comes to diseases like Parkinson's, the earlier it's diagnosed, the better, because they can slow down the effects of the disease and give the patient more time. Another article I wanted to show you guys is about this swallowable pill that can actually navigate your body while feeding doctors information through its cameras and sensors. They're currently in clinical trials and still awaiting FDA approval, but this is a glimpse into what the future could look like. Having tiny robotic pills equipped with cameras, sensors, and wireless communication, allowing doctors to examine the insides of your body with precision and control. So definitely some exciting and also scary times we're headed towards, and if you want to stay ahead of the game, make sure to hit that subscribe button because I'll be updating you guys with any new trends or news in AI that may be important. Anyways, that's it for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.